the experience that you're giving your client that sets you apart than the photographer down the street. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Edit. I am Erin from Nashville.
I'm Whitney from Minneapolis.
And I'm Amanda from Seattle.
And today we are going to talk all about branding and specifically the 4 V's of branding. So those are going to be vision, voice, visuals, and value. So jumping right in, the first thing that we'll talk about is vision. And aside from making money, vision is figuring out what you're here for. Why in the world are you doing this as your career? And what is your end goal? And what are you hoping to bring to the table, to you and your clients? So what's your purpose and what is your why? So show of hands or voices, I guess since this is a podcast. Have either of you read or listened to Simon Sinek's Why? Oh, is that what it's?
Start with why.
Start with why. Thank you.
Yes.
Escaped me. You have? Amanda
Yes, I have.
No, Amanda has not.
Okay. So Whitney has, Amanda has not. We're going to add a link to this to the email. It's excellent. And so many people reference it now. I feel like when you are in any kind of education for not just photography businesses, but brands as well. So the idea is just that you need to know what your why is, what your vision is, so that even if it's slow season, even if you've been doing this 20 years, even if you've had a rough weekend or whatnot, that something keeps you going, right?
Yeah.
So we're starting with why, like Simon Sinek, and we're starting with our vision. I want to note that when I was thinking about this episode, I realized my vision has changed over the course of my business. And that's because, just to give you something practical, listener, to think about, my vision in the beginning was that I'm a senior portrait photographer, by the way, and I wanted teenage girls to feel seen and beautiful. That was my vision. But now I'm a mom of 2 girls and my vision has changed. So I still want that for senior girls. But now my vision is really towards capturing these girls and their laughter and their personality for their moms to be able to put on the walls whenever the daughters move off to start their own families or chase their dreams or go to college or whatever it is. So that's my why, is capturing, like freezing time for these mamas. So we're starting our branding conversation with vision. And then we're going to jump into voice. So voice is all about communication. And
Never can have enough of that.
Never, ever, ever. We've talked about it on the show before about how important it is to over communicate with your clients. I don't think there is such thing as under communicating things. You're going to be so much happier in your business if you over communicate. But as far as branding goes, we want to think about your ideal client and how they are going to receive it best, right? So I was thinking about commercials. Ladies, have you guys seen any Dove commercials?
Yes.
The Dove deodorant and all of that stuff. What can you tell me about? How would you describe a Dove commercial?
Oh man, I mean, the first thing I think of is I think like real life, like women empowerment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Real life and women being who they are and being beautiful. And it's so funny you brought this up. Like, I did not know you were going to bring this up, but I figured now might be a good way to share this story.
Okay.
Oh,
so my studio was named.
Oh, right.
Dove.
Yeah.
And it literally, myself and 2 friends, this was back in college. And I just saw my friend I did this with. We photographed a wedding just with our film cameras. And we were just talking like, hey, it'd be so fun to start a wedding photography business. And we all use Dove deodorant. And I thought we should call it Dove.
People
But
probably
part
think that this like really profound. Like
I know, like,
we all released doves at our wedding.
exactly.
No,
Or like super
no.
ethereal or
no, but this actually made the connection. One of the reasons I love Dove was the brand is I loved how they portrayed beauty. And I
Mhm, yeah.
actually, when I went through my branding, I would always think about that. I would think like that's a good brand to be connected with somehow.
Mhm.
Not that I copied anything from it or I was selling the same thing, but I
Yeah.
love that their voice communicated that and it triggered something in me where I was like, I love that.
Well, thank you for saying that because you
Yeah.
are proving my point, and we
Yes.
did not plan this, and this is fantastic. So the two examples that I thought of whenever just what popped into my head when I was
Mhm.
thinking about big brands that everybody's heard of
Yep.
and the way that they speak to their people. Dove speaks to their people in a touching, by the way, I feel like there's a sneeze like coming. So we're oh, maybe if I say it out loud, it'll go away.
there you
Right?
go. Exactly. I'll just say bless you now and then you won't sneeze.
And it'll go away.
So
Yeah. So Dove speaks to their people in a way that's like probably going to bring you to tears if you're watching the Super Bowl and you see a Dove commercial, right? Especially if you are a mother or a big sister or a caretaker or, just even a friend, to women. And it sticks with you. It moves you. That's the word I'm looking for. It's moving. And then you've got Doritos. And I've never seen a Doritos commercial that has moved me. But I see Doritos commercials that I remember and that like will pop into my head randomly when I'm washing my hair or driving down the road because they're punchy and they're funny and they're out there and they're memorable. Two very well-known brands, two completely different voices.
Yeah.
And so as a business, you need to figure out what your voice is. You need to decide, am I speaking in a tone? Am I using language? Am I tying everything in together in a way that's going to move my client or make them laugh or make them think really hard about something or make them feel empowered or what is the way that I want to communicate with the person that I want to attract? So that is your voice.
I love that explanation, Erin. That's so great. That's such a good, succinct way.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to talk about using large brands to your benefit again in just a second. So we'll tie that back in. But the third thing that you want to think about when you're working on your branding is really the thing that people think about when you say branding. And what I thought branding was for many years was a cute logo and the right colors and a good website. And like, I wanted the bags that my products were delivered in to have my logo on it. I thought that was branding. So this is going to be visual. This is your logo to your website, to your social media graphics, all of the touch points that your clients see when they're thinking about your brand. But I want to make a note. It is not what people hire you for. So it is important and it's shiny and it's fun and it's like it's so easy for us to want to chase it and work on it. But it's not the most important. It is important. You want to make sure that your visual branding is consistent with itself, but also consistent with your voice. So if you're going to have branding that's more moving and sentimental, you may choose softer colors and more cursive fonts. If you're going to have branding that's more punchy or funny or sarcastic, you may choose something that's brighter or different, more bold. So I do think that it's important because we're visual people and we're putting things out there. Photography is a visual thing. I think it's important, but it's not where I think, and where ladies, I think you would agree, that new photographers or someone who's pivoting and rebranding should put their money. And I know that's so hard for new photographers to hear, probably because you just want to jump right into it. You want to have the best logo and cute things and stuff. So here are two avenues that you can go, and my recommendation for new photographers listening right now. Right now, I would suggest honestly that you go into Canva. Canva was not utilized whenever we were all starting out. We did find out that it did exist. It wasn't popular
We didn't know about it.
when we did our Canva episode, right? But Canva has logos for free that you can go in and you can find something that you feel like matches your brand, and you can get a free logo. You can find mood boards. I was trying to say vision boards and mood boards at the same time, already created for you, where someone who's great at putting colors together and fonts together and all of that, you can find those for free in Canva. And that's what I'm suggesting to you right now. And then when you've got a little bit of money in the bank and you can afford it, I really do recommend hiring a professional graphic designer. We're going to jump into this more in a future episode and have a graphic designer on the show and can talk about that. I think it's important. But the last V is really what we're going to talk about, of where I think that your money should be spent. So right now, I would not throw a bunch of money at the visual branding. And I'm curious, Amanda, I'm going to ask you first, did you DIY your branding, or did you hire a professional?
When I first started, it was DIY. It was actually my best friend, who's also a photographer. She was like, "Oh, hey, let me design something with you." And so she came up with my colors with me and helped me kind of create this logo. She put it together for me, and that was it. We did that together, and I think I had that for probably about a year and a half. And then things shifted. And now my logo, I paid for it, and my branding, I paid to have somebody help me. But yeah, that's been like twice now I've worked with designers to refresh what.
Well, because you've had a great career, right? You've had some time, and I'm sure that things have evolved, your style, and
and I feel like that is, I mean, like you're saying, right now it's really important to have it done. Like to have something.
Yeah.
But I don't know of a single photographer who has been in business who has had the same branding and the same vision when they started as they have now, 5, 10, 15 years later.
Yeah.
I think it's natural for a brand to evolve. It's natural for your photography to just, as life changes pop up, I think that's when, you kind of start to see things a little different. So
yeah. I love it. I agree. Whitney, you are not currently in, doing photography, but you've had, associates, and you've had your own wedding business, and you've had things in different states. And tell me a little bit about your branding. Was it DIY? Did you hire somebody? Was everything under the same? Was it all the same? Was it different? That's a lot of questions.
So absolutely, I DIY'd my first branding. I made my first Dove logo, and I used to tell people I've been learning, and I guess still, I've been learning Photoshop for over 20 years. There used to not be all these video tutorials where you can learn so much faster. So I just put something together in Photoshop, and it was fine. I still I look at it now. It's not a good logo. It's fine. But people hired me even with that logo, because they saw all the other things that I was doing, and they saw my photography. And, that absolutely is the most important. Then eventually we did hire a designer, and then we hired a designer for our associate studio as well. And it was actually the same designer for both of them. And so they fit styles, but it was still separate because my associate studio was separate. It wasn't like, we had our name was Dove. It wasn't Whitney. Our associate studio, when people were hiring there, they hired they knew who they were hiring. It wasn't like, oh, I'm hiring Whitney and she's going to find some random associate. And so they had their own brand, and who they were was part of that, but it still fit together, and people knew that we were connected. So, and then, however, you know, and I still do some photography, and I have a few websites. I'm working on, some other things for so for anything new that I've done since then, I have just made my own logo to start. And even, you know, we were chatting with our podcast here. We have created our own logo, but we also at the very beginning, we're like, you know, we're going to do this now to get it up and get it going. And eventually we want to hire someone, because they see things that graphic designers have an entirely different skill set than photographers.
Yeah. There's color theory, and there's what fonts go well together, you know, different graphics that you can add. There's so much. And so, there's a lot to consider. And I think all of that is important to make sure that stuff aligns with your brand's message and your voice and all of that. And so we strongly believe in outsourcing things and hiring the right professionals when the time is right. We just don't think that that's, and I'm speaking for all of us, I think don't think that that's where your money should go right now. So whether you're DIYing it or whether maybe you can barter, maybe you can work something out, but whether you're DIYing it or hiring a graphic designer, you just want to make sure that your visuals align with your message and your voice, that they're consistent when you're using them. And then the other thing, I think that you should have good, even if you do them yourself, like a self-portrait, but I think that your photos of yourself should be important. Your personal branding photos is what I mean. You're wanting people to hire you for a service. You need to make sure that headshot on your website looks good. That's one thing that's a pet peeve of mine when I see photographers' websites, is that their profile photo is a selfie whenever they're trying to, you know, sell something. So, one last note on the visual side of it is going back to checking out those larger brands. Chris, our amigo, our fourth person here on the podcast, that's currently taking a really nice vacation. But so he told me one time that the way that he got his, that he kind of knew the direction that he was taking a portion of the business he was creating. So he was starting to do senior portraits, and the way that he kind of was looking at what the trends were, he went to the mall and he walked around the stores that he thought his ideal client would shop at, and he looked at their visuals. And I thought, that's genius. He said, they've hired a marketing team. Like, they've put tons of money into market research. Let's just piggyback off of their market research. And I was like, oh, that's genius.
So good.
So figuring out who your ideal client is, getting in their head, thinking about where they're already spending their money, and then checking out those companies and seeing what they're doing, and how they're speaking to their people, and the visuals that they're putting out, and the tone that they're using, all of that. Feel free to piggyback off of that. I think. So that is going to put us right into the last V of branding, which is going to be value. And this is really where the rubber meets the road. Because like we just said, your clients don't hire you based on your logo or your website or your pretty little packaging that you put your albums in. I mean, they might be telling their friends about that, but what they're really telling their friends about is, I had this pain point and they resolved it. And this is how great they did it. And so your branding, this is, I think, is the most important part of your branding. It's the experience that you're giving your client that sets you apart than the photographer down the street. And they might be offering a great experience for their person, but your ideal client wants what you're providing. I hope you're doing it well. So you just need to figure out, okay, is it, what are my clients needing? Is it that they really want those products that that are like really high-end products, and how can I provide that to them in a way that nobody else is? Are my clients needing quick turnaround time? And I can provide that better than anybody else because I've streamlined it. Figuring out what it is that they need, providing it, and then going above and beyond the next person and doing it. And so that also, by the way, you need to make sure to showcase this. It doesn't do any good if you're doing it and you're not telling people that you're doing
Yep.
it. So your social media should not just be like, here's a sneak peek from this wedding that I photographed. Here's some pretty photos. You need to be showcasing on your social media your customer service, your turnaround time, the products that you're offering, your reliability, like how you maybe even like, I didn't get this right, so here's what I did,
Yep.
Like, this is the biggest part of your branding, your value that you're bringing to your clients. And that can be so many different things, but I just like to look at it as like the experience / personality. So putting you on the spot again, Whitney, I'll jump into you first. I put me on the spot first last time. Can you share ways, just for the listener to hear, like real life ways of bringing value to your clients? Anything that you've done?
So what I was thinking about this, and I think one of the things that that I've always done that was different is I've always had an assistant, and I've always had a second shooter with weddings. Never, and part of that, I wasn't consciously thinking, oh, this is how I'm going to be different.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it any other way. I wanted to be with people. So when I went to a shoot, it wasn't just me trying to do everything. I had someone else there that was engaging with the client, fixing their hair, dragging my gear. Finding gear that I left randomly.
Sure. Yes. So do you think that you ever talked about that? And I mean, okay, good.
Yeah, I did.
But I don't see photographers talking about that a ton. Maybe I'm not looking for it. Maybe they have, and it's just not on my radar. But like, to show your brides, like, look, you're not just getting me, you're getting a team. Yes. You're going to get your photos are going to get my full creative attention because somebody else is lugging my gear around.
Yep.
Like, that's great.
Yeah. And we would do that. And, it was, again, and I think some of this stuff that you naturally are like, this seems like a good idea, because I've learned so much about how to, I need to think about it this way, and I need to find my target market and do all this research. And sometimes your gut is telling you things to do. So you might as well try it out, even if you haven't gone through the whole process of spelling everything out. And so that was one of those things that we just did. And when there was like a second, like always having a second photographer, so no one ever had to pay extra for a second photographer because they were just already
included.
there.
I love that.
Yep.
I love it. Amanda. So what are ways that you bring value within your business to your clients?
So there are 3 things I can think of when you mention this. The first one is because I decided to go product heavy with my with my clients and what I wanted them to purchase. I knew from experience that there's no way somebody is going to hang up the art that I have printed for them on their wall in a timely manner. So I made it that any wall art product that is ordered, I personally bring it to your home and I install it for you.
Gosh.
No extra charge. It's just included in the price. Right? Seriously, I did travel to Tennessee just last week. But that was the thing, is I saw that was such a pain point for my clients. They don't have the time or maybe the vision to see what's going to look great. And honestly, more of it's the time. I mean, I work with families and kids. do you really want to be spending time doing that? No, I feel like nobody really wants to. So I just included it in the pricing for all my wall art. It's just
I
included
love
in
it.
there. And then I show up and I pre-design with my clients. They
Mhm.
look at it and approve it. And then I bring it and put it in their home. So that's the first one. The second one is last year I shifted my business to be zero waste. And a lot of my clients here in Seattle, like it's just really, it's kind of like ingrained in our culture to be
Mhm.
as sustainable and eco-friendly as possible. So this year I started really going heavy into products that are sustainable. So I am now offering those to my clients, and I don't see any other photographers in my area doing that.
Mhm.
So I really liked the fact that not only am I providing something that nobody else is, but my ideal client cares about that. And
Yeah.
so I want to make it easy for them to
Yep.
find the product. So it's a work in progress right now on my price sheet, but I'm going to have like a whole page in my info guide that's going to be, here are the eco-friendly products that you can order, and just lay it right out there for them.
I
And
love
then
that.
my third one is something we will link to because I love them. There's this company called Greetable, and they have the cutest little gifts. And they're these amazing little boxes where you can put photos in there, and have them printed on there. So for a lot of my clients that have found me through somebody and have been referred to me, I will send them a Greetable as like a little welcome gift when they've booked me. And I'll include like my logo, because since we haven't photographed yet, I'll include my logo, some fun little like my motto is your face deserves wall space. And so I'll
Mhm.
put that on there as well. And I'll just send them a little note. And usually it's like a little sweet treat, like little caramels or
Mhm.
little, they have like champagne bubbles through Sugarfina that they have. And I'll send those and just basically say, I'm so excited to work with you. Like, here's just a little sweet treat you all can share before I get to meet your sweet faces in person. And I'll do that for welcome clients. And then for other clients who have been with me, I like gifting those greetables at the end of a session as a thank you gift.
Sorry if you
Love
just heard
it.
my stomach growl. And if you didn't hear my stomach growl, just ignore that I just said that. But you were talking about candy, and that's where my brain went.
There you
I love
go.
that. I love all three of those. I mean,
Mhm.
I feel like I didn't know. I knew one of those things about your business. I knew the eco-friendly, the zero waste part.
Mhm.
Um, but that's fantastic. All of those. I'm gonna tell my friend, like when I open up so they get it in the mail, right?
Yep.
Did you
Yep.
say
It's called
greetable?
Greetable. Yeah. I'll put a link to
Yeah.
that in the show
I
notes.
mean, of course I'm gonna text my bestie and be like, look what my photographer just sent me.
Mhm.
Like this. Oh, so didn't plan on saying this, but listener, here's a little bonus for you. In life, half the fun of everything, I think, is the anticipation of it, right?
Mhm.
Like looking forward to Christmas is just as fun as Christmas Day. And
Mhm.
like putting together a gift for a friend, or like just the anticipation of things, the lead up to things. And I think people miss that with their branding and their
Mhm.
client
Yeah.
experience. And so I've tried to, I mean, I don't send greetables yet.
There you go. Yet.
I think you nailed that in like getting your client excited about the experience with you before they
Mhm.
ever meet you face to face and you pull your camera out. Like the anticipation and the excitement of getting to their photo shoot, especially weddings,
Yeah.
the building up to it, or senior portraits, they've looked forward to it for so many years. Like, that's fantastic. That right there, ladies, is branding. That's good branding.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. I have failed
so
in showing it on social media, though. That's the thing. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
really don't show that that's one of the things that I do. I mean, part of it's because
mhm,
I don't always do it for everybody.
yeah.
There are clients that I've had for a long time where just every single year we do their photos. And I usually give them a little gift in their package, but it's not
Mhm,
as big as a greetable. The greetables
mhm,
between $20 to $30. So it's a
mhm,
sizable thing. And so I usually kind of reserve that for either the clients who I've never met before and I really want them to
Mhm.
enjoy the services we're going to do, or for a client who has spent a lot of money with
yeah.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we would do that with like for booking weddings, we would always send a gift once they booked, like
Yeah.
as a thank you. And for the associate studio as well. Um, but yeah, I don't think we ever were like, hey, we're doing XYZ, or, maybe we would mention stuff that we would do in our new client inquiries, like in a
Yeah.
meeting, but I wouldn't blog about it or put it on social media.
Yeah. It feels a little bit braggy,
It does. Yeah.
but
But I don't think they'll see it that way.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I think that they're going to be like, well, I want that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want it to be a surprise to your client, then you don't want to talk about it a ton. I mean, maybe you could be vague about it. Maybe you could just show something. I don't know. I mean, so you may not want to show everything. You might want to keep things a surprise. But I think this is something where a lot of photographers, especially when you're new and you're just thinking, I need to be showing all of these beautiful photos that I can take so that people will hire me.
Yeah.
Well, that's what photographers do. They take beautiful photos, hopefully.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do. The difference is going to be the way that your client felt throughout the entire experience. Did you solve their problems? Did you make them feel good?
Yep.
That's branding.
Yeah. So many seasoned photographers that I talk to, like that is the thing that always rings true, is that you don't even have to be the greatest photographer. If the experience that you give somebody makes them feel so wonderful, they're going to keep coming back to you because they want that feeling again.
Yeah.
Like it is your personality. It is what you do for your client that keeps them coming to you.
Yeah.
And I think just even when we think about photographs in general, when we see a photo, it's going to bring up memories. That's what they do. And so if you see this photo, whether it's the most perfect photo or not, and you remember your enjoyment, your experience with a photographer, the experience of having your photo taken at that moment, you're going to like it.
Yep.
Whereas if it can be a beautiful photo, and if it was a bad experience, you're just going to get that pit in your stomach.
Yep.
So, I love it. I think that we have discussed a handful of really great things that we can put in the newsletter, and some great links in the description. And then also I think that we've touched on some things that we really could elaborate on in some future episodes. So I could talk about this all day long. I think this is super fun. So we'll try to continue the conversation over on Instagram as well. We are at The Edit Weekly, by the way, if you want to follow us along there. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on your favorite podcast episode. We hope that you will join us. We hope that you will also sign up for our newsletter. We do hide some extra things in there. We include some extra things in there. So we just hope that you'll hang out with us in all the places.
Exactly.
Joining us today, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Photo BFFs, if you have not subscribed, do that right now so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us at theeditweekly.com, where we have free resources and downloads for you to help grow your photo business.